HemoHim, which has been the top seller in its industry for 6 consecutive years, has passed 1 trillion Korean won in total sales. It has gotten international patents in 6 countries, and in 2020, it got green certification and a patent that protects its functional compounds, which helps in discovering new functionalities. Thus, HemoHim is forging a unique new path for health functional food products.
Okay, let's talk about the first product, which is HemoHim. I think everybody is aware HemoHim is a top product, selling product in Atomy, all right? So it's Atomy's leading product, and if you talk about Atomy, and if you talk about product representation, I think HemoHim is a synonym to Atomy, okay? So it is important, of course, that as the chairman have said, all right, if you want to be successful in Atomy, all right, you have to be familiar with product. I can tell you that. If you are not familiar with HemoHim, your chances of success is not going to be high, right? So HemoHim is the top selling product, and you should master it. But in mastery of HemoHim, it's not just knowing how to say HemoHim is good for everything. HemoHim is a medicine, so I'm going to tell you exactly who are the people that is suitable to take HemoHim and benefit from HemoHim. Who are the people that should be very careful about taking HemoHim, right? And what are the conditions when you take HemoHim you should be more careful about, right? Okay, now a short story about HemoHim. I think everybody knows the background. HemoHim basically is developed primarily for people who are working in the nuclear power plant, all right? And actually it's used as a supplementation that's for them to actually prevent, protect them from the nuclear radiation as a result of the working environment. So in short, basically, actually, it is actually anti-radiation product. It's a product that developed based on the premises that actually it will help people who are in there subject to intense radiation risk environment, and it's used as a supplementation to protect them from the radiation, all right? HemoHim, in short, stands for hemo, which is actually hemoglobin, right? HIM, the big capital of H stands for hemoporosis, I stand for immune, and M stands for modulation. So if, in short, actually HemoHim is a representation of the function of the product, which means that actually it's a blood formation and immune regulation product. So this is very clearly defined as a short form of HemoHim, right? So if you understand where HemoHim comes from, you should understand the function of HemoHim very clearly, because it is basically a blood formation and immune regulatory compound, all right? Okay, look at the ingredient composition. I would not have to go into the technical part of it, but basically I think the famous 3 ingredients that's in the HemoHim side are basically the agaricus, which is actually tang gui, all right? Selenium officinae, which is actually the chuanxiong, and then also actually the Penia japonica, which is actually paisao. These 3 are the classic herbal ingredient from the TCM, right? If you look at the traditional Chinese medicine pharmacopoeia in there, you'll find that these 3 are the classic herbal compound. They are the compound that's well in use for centuries, If you look at it itself, I'm going to draw a parallel for everybody. HemoHim actually is very similar in its constituent with a very famous TCM formulation, which is called 四物汤, 四物汤, 四物 soap, okay? Now, if you look at it itself in the TCM 四物 soap itself, it is actually a very classic hematolosis tonic, okay? For centuries, this actually 四物汤has been used for actually treatment of a blood deficiency, right? And actually, if you look at the composition of HemoHim, which is actually the tang gui, paisao, chuanxiong, the 3 products in there on the red side, you can see. If you compare with the Su soap itself, actually they have exactly the same ingredient, except the Su soap have additional 1 ingredient, which is actually the salty, additional 1. That's the only difference in there. All right. Now for Su soap itself, modern TCM context itself is been used to treat condition that is like anemia, all right, low blood count, as well as menstrual irregularity. So if you look at the similarity between the two formulations, you can also basically draw a parallel in terms of HemoHim's application. So HemoHim's pharmacological property and application can be very similar to Sibutang, right? So it actually can be used and particularly relevant for people who are suffering from anemia, all right, or low blood count, and particularly suitable for women who are having menstrual irregularity. So these are the typical application of HemoHim as well. Okay, just look at HemoHim from the modern pharmacological context itself. Right, I derived the HemoHim's pharmacology from the actually 18 published paper from NCBI. Right, NCBI is one of the most top renowned medicinal database in the world. All right, and from there, from this 18 published paper, I summarized the pharmacological function of HemoHim for your understanding. Basically, HemoHim is an antioxidant, right? It have anti-fatigue function. It's actually able to generate blood. You have immune modulation function. You have anti-inflammation function. You have anti-radiation function, and actually it's also anti-diabetic. So these are the summarized pharmacological function from the 18 published paper that's in NCBI. Okay, so let's go straight into the benefits of HemoHim then, right? What are the, HemoHim is suitable for what types of people and what are benefits? First, HemoHim will help improve the blood count. And therefore, through that itself, that means that if you have a blood count, then if you improve your blood count, generally people who have low blood count will have symptoms of anemia and anti-fatigue, because basically the blood itself comprises of red blood cell, white blood cell, and plasma, and all other compound cells. But as far as concerned itself, the red blood cell very often related to actually anemic conditions itself, all right? So the white blood cell, increasing the white blood cell, basically it helps to boost the immunity, because you know the white blood cell related to our immunity, and therefore, hence, you can actually use the defense against infection, okay, infection. And of course, both the white blood cell and red blood cells, actually the raise of red blood cell and white blood cell itself also helps to actually alleviate the side effects which is due to the radiation, which basically destroy the red and white blood cell as well, okay? What HemoHim then can do? That means basically what HemoHim is suitable. HemoHim actually can be used as a complementary therapeutic for low immunity, all right? It helps to strengthen your body's immunity, so hence prevent you from getting infection, right? And it benefits for a person who are suffering from immunity deficiency diseases like cancer, AIDS patient, and singles. Okay, these are inherent immune deficiency diseases itself. So it will benefit people who are suffering from low immunity, that you actually strengthen the immunity. Okay. HemoHim also is useful and it can be as a complementary therapeutic for low blood count, right? So it benefits to relieve people who are having symptoms of anemia, all right? Basically, this is particularly talking about the low blood count of red blood cell, okay? But remember, the anemia is a general term for low red blood cell, but there are certain generic red blood anemic condition that is not considered to be actually the general anemia due to red blood cell, like thalassemia and sickle cell anemia. So HemoHim is suitable for these types of people, but effectiveness of it itself basically is unknown. It's unknown because these types of anemia basically are generic and due to the defects of the red blood cell itself. So even if you increase the red blood cell in the body, the defects of the red blood cell doesn't change anyway. So therefore, doesn't necessarily give you the right benefits itself. Now, one condition that you all must be aware, right? Because HemoHim basically is a blood-generating compound, right? So it is not a whisper. In fact, it's contraindicated for people having bleeding disorder, right? Person who are having bleeding disorder should not take HemoHim because it will make his condition get worse. Okay? Okay. Because a lot of members, in fact, have approached me as well, and they ask questions about HemoHim, and most of them actually have also given HemoHim for cancer patients, right? So I want to just particularly take this opportunity just to delve in a bit on how HemoHim is applied for cancer patient itself, all right? Now, okay, the HemoHim on hand, cancer patient can be looked at from two contexts of cancer treatment. One of them actually is the radiation therapy, right? In cancer treatment, cancer therapy is one of the modalities, very commonly used, right? And what are the problems of having a radiation therapy treatment? What are the side effects? Basically, for short-term, radiation therapy basically will basically destroy your blood cell. So basically, you also destroy your bone marrow blood forming function, and hence it affects you having a low blood count issue. So in this case, the short-term side effect actually is fatigue and low blood count. This is actually the immediate side effect of the radiation therapy, all right? Localized-wise, if the area that has been irradiated, you actually will have other side effects. For instance, if your radiation is on a dominant or pelvic area, you will have diarrhea, all right? And if you have, it's on the joints, on your chest, all that, you will have actually stiff joint and muscle pain in the area that's irradiated. Long term, actually, you have problems with those organs that has been radiated itself, right? So if you have lungs and heart actually been radiated, you will have actually heart failure or lung problem as you go on for long-term side effect. Lymph nodes itself, your radiation long-term, you will have water retention and so on and so forth, all right? So radiation causes side effect, and therefore you also reduce your blood count. So remember. Chemotherapy is another modality in cancer treatment, very common and very often is the first line of internal medicine for cancer treatment. What chemotherapy do is basically act on the mechanism of our fast-growing blood cell, right? Our body, fast-growing cell in our body basically the blood cell, our hair, our mucosal membrane cell. These are the typical cell that's very similar to a cancer cell, which is fast-growing, all right? So chemotherapy basically act on that mechanism and actually try to cut those cells that's fast-growing one down. That means they kill those cells, right? As a result, the chemotherapy drugs also will cause damages to the normal fast-growing cell. And hence, for having a low blood count is the effect of the chemo drugs mechanism by default, right? So very often you'll find that a lot of chemotherapy patients will suffer a low blood count problem, right? What do you mean by low blood count? Basically, in the blood, we have actually the red blood cell, the white blood cell, as well as the plasma. What we call platelet, we call it platelet, okay? So if you have a low red blood cell, you will suffer from anemia, right? You have a low white blood cell, you suffer low immunity, right? If you have low platelet itself, you will suffer from the risk of internal bleeding, uncontrolled bleeding, okay? So these are the consequences of actually low blood count and the risk. Okay, HemoHim in cancer treatment. HemoHim actually is very effective as a adjuvant therapy for cancer treatment because it actually can alleviate the cancer side effect. Cancer surgery resulting in loss of blood, so obviously HemoHim can actually help it to recuperate faster. Similarly, chemotherapy and radiation therapy also cause a reduction in the blood count And hence, for HemoHim can help to normalize your blood count. So remember, the HemoHim is not treating the cancer. HemoHim is, in this instance, used as an effective adjuvant for what? For alleviating the side effect result from the cancer treatment. Okay? So there's a very clear distinction in terms of treatment as well as supporting and alleviating the side effect. So if you look at it from HemoHim application, right? HemoHim actually basically as a medicine, you can also use it as a supplementation. For supplementation application, basically you use it as a maintenance over a long period of time, right? Generally, if you feel that you are for antiphatic, if your immune is low, you want it for immunity support, then you should take 1 to 2 sachets a day. That should be suffice as a normal consumption for the application. But if you want to use it as a medicine, then you can increase the dosage. But remember, only if you have those symptoms that's relevant for the medicinal treatment. So in this case, if you have suffering from anemia, all right, which means a low red blood cell count, or you are suffering from low immunity diseases, all right, low white blood cell count, or you actually are from critical illness, you are suffering from the surgery, for instance, for recovery, then you can use HemoHim as a medicine and increase the dosage to up to 3 sachets a day, right? In some instances, you might want to say that, okay, I can go up to 4, all right? But generally, remember the principle behind medicine use, right? Medicine use is targeted towards a condition. If the symptom is relieved, then the medicine should stop, right? It's the same, right? For you, if you take a Panadol, it's for a fever, right? When the fever subsides, you stop Panadol, right? Same thing, same principle apply. If you take HemoHim at higher than the normal recommended dosage, right? Take it for the purpose of the targeted symptom, and if the symptom is normalized, revert it back to normal dosage, all right? That is a very important clinical practice in all medicine, as well as if you even you take supplement. Remember this guideline. Okay, what HemoHim cannot do? HemoHim is not an anti-cancer agent. Remember, by definition, it's not used as a replacement for cancer treatment. It cannot use as a replacement for cancer drugs because it does not have direct anti-cancer property, right? So very remember, difference between HemoHim used in chemo as chemotherapy or for cancer patient is because it uses it to help to alleviate the side effect. It's not used to replace the anti-cancer treatment, all right? And it's not an anti-cancer agent, right? So therefore, it's not indicated for any cancer treatment itself. Don't give it and say, that, okay, now this one can cure cancer. That is not a right statement to use. You get yourself into a lot of trouble, okay? Right? Contraindication, right? HemoHim is contraindicated for person with blood cancer, like leukemia, lymphoma, and so on. So if this person is suffering from blood cancer, because cancer can be divided broadly into 2 categories, solid tumor and blood cancer, right? Solid tumor are cancer of the lung, colon, breast, and so on and so forth, which is tissue-related, right? But blood cancer are leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma, and so on. Right? Now, blood cancer patients should not take HemoHim. As a matter of principle, let me explain why, okay? Remember I said HemoHim is a blood-generating compound, all right? So in the case of leukemia patient, the patient is really suffering from excessive white blood cell. The white blood cell is already out of control. So if you let the HemoHim, let the patient take, the patient's white blood cell will further increase, right? This will make the situation worse. So therefore, remember, on this principle, HemoHim is not allowed for people and contraindicated for people who are suffering from blood cancer, okay? Right? So also there is a cancer treatment that is called immunotherapy, right? Remember, HemoHim actually is an immune-regulating compound, right? So currently the mechanism of the HemoHim on the body, whether it will interact or interfere with the immunotherapy treatment is unknown. So therefore, what we say is that it's better to be safe when a patient who's undergoing immunotherapy not to take HemoHim as adjuvant, even though maybe the person may be suffering from low immunity or anemia that you want to use HemoHim to help. But these are two conditions you must be careful, okay? Okay, who should seek professional advice before taking HemoHim? As I say, bleeding disorder, you should not take, all right? Pregnant ladies, nursing mother should not take HemoHim. For that matter, any medication that you take for pregnant ladies because of the sensitivity of the fetus involved. So you should not take any medication unless you are telling by the doctor, right? So don't self-medicate when you are actually pregnant or you are actually breastfeeding as well. Now, children under the age of 6, there's no need to take HemoHim, right? There's no need for you to take HemoHim, and for that matter, it doesn't really need to take any of the supplement unless there's indicated, right, for that. So remember, these are the group of people should be avoiding taking HemoHim. Okay? Who should take with caution? People with hypertension, especially if your hypertension is uncontrolled. That means that even you take medication, the hypertension is still out of the range, right? Those are what we call uncontrolled hypertension. The reason is very simple, right? HemoHim generates blood, right? So increase your blood volume. If you are having hypertension, your blood volume go up further, you make the situation worse, right? So if you have hypertension, and if the hypertension is under control, if you want to take HemoHim for certain purposes, for instance, you might want to take it for immunity purposes, right? I suggest that you take with a small dosage. Start with small dosage and see how your body responds before you ramp up, okay? So remember, there are cases whereby the people who have hypertension take it and then the blood pressure shoot up as well, okay? So people with poor kidney function, people with poor liver function should also taking HemoHim with caution, right? And there's no need for you to take HemoHim if you do not need to take it for your immunity or your low blood count purposes, right? Now, remember, a lot of people ask me, can I take HemoHim when I have a liver condition? Actually, they mean that can HemoHim cure the liver diseases? The answer is no. HemoHim is not indicated to cure any liver diseases, right? HemoHim is not indicated to cure any kidney diseases. So you do not take HemoHim to cure this condition. Okay, we talk about the medicinal problem that caused by Hong Kong Health Department. I just want to give here everybody a background and a very scientific evidence of what the basis is. So remember the issue of methicillin, okay? So methicillin is a compound that actually is found in a lot of natural herbs and fruits itself, right? And Hong Kong Health Authority basically mentioned that methicillin contain methicillin, and hence for actually it cause problem when you inject HemoHim because you're taking HemoHim because of this compound contained in there. Now the fact is that actually the methicillin is actually naturally found in a lot of compound, and therefore for that matter I want to use a scientific evidence to explain to you the basis of how HemoHim has been actually rectified by HSA in terms of the safety clearance. First, if you look at it itself, one sachet of HemoHim actually contains about 0.2 milligram of methicillin. This is a published number. This published number actually is even stated in the Korean Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. They published that number itself. So this is a published number that we know HemoHim contains this amount. Now, since methicillin is actually a drug, so it's very simple. We just have to go to the drug directory and pick out methicillin and look at their current therapeutic dosage that's used for treatment. So a normal adult therapeutic dosage for methicillin is 20 mg per day per dose, all right? So if you base on this basis itself, in terms of equivalent of the amount in the drug dosage, you have to take up to 100 sachets of HemoHim in order for you to achieve that therapeutic dosage. So henceforth, it is not possible and not practical for anyone to have a problem caused by mectosalin in toxicity problem, right? Because first, unlikely that you're going to take 100. Even if it's 100 sachet, this is only the dosage of therapeutic dosage. This is not a toxic dosage level. So therefore, this is clear. The message and the data are very clear. So don't listen to any nonsense. All right? As far as concerned, from acute toxicity, this issue is already settled. It's already settled. Okay? Okay, now, the second product actually on CPM list actually is the Hongsamdan. Hongsamdan actually is ginseng, everybody know, and it's a Korean red ginseng. And the special differentiation is that it is actually very pure extract of ginseng. The extraction process are very patented and actually is very unique to Atomy itself. Now, I don't have to tell you about what ginseng can do, but I'm going to tell you that, right? In this case, as far as concerned, the listed activity of a ginseng benefits are all there. Antioxidant, anti-inflammation, antimicrobial, these are the benefits of ginseng. Now, the application is very wide-ranging, right? And even you have actually some what they call anti-cancer activities so far in the ginseng itself. Okay? Now, in application, what is Hongsamdan used? Hongsamdan actually used to improve mental and physical performance, right? It's anti-fatigue, right? It's used for central nervous system problem like cerebral insufficiency, impaired memory, right? Dementia, Alzheimer. It's useful for that application. It's also used for actually regulating a metabolic syndrome, which is including type 2 diabetics. These are all proven clinical application of ginseng, okay? All right? And for respiratory infection, it's helpful. And it's also used for erectile dysfunction, which is quite famous in terms of ginseng's use in terms of that, right? So I think this is well known. Huh? So these are all current application of ginseng itself. All right? But ginseng, taking ginseng, have its own precaution. So these are the precautions that I want everybody to know. Ginseng is very powerful, very effective in wide-ranging activities. But then ginseng also have a lot of interaction with drugs, right? So I don't want to bore everybody with that, but I will hope that everybody, when you take ginseng, do check against the list of medication if you are taking. So ginseng, the only area that you need to be concerned that you have a lot of interaction with the medication, okay? All right, so same thing as a general rule for everybody, all right? In taking health supplement or taking a medicine, do not take the medication for the treatment of disorder other than indicated. First rule of thumb, general. Second, do not consume beyond what is normally recommended dosage. Third, avoid taking between 1 hour with any other medication if you are not sure of the interaction of the drugs itself. And if you are taking herbs medication, herbs can cause allergic reaction, right? So therefore, in case that you have allergic reaction, right, it's not due to the product whether good or not, but because of body reacting to the sensitivity of the herbs itself, you stop taking. Don't force yourself to take.